What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull-Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, a.k.a. B Jizzle. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull-Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos, hit that like button. Y'all come in here, hit that share, subscribe, hit that Cash App, $ Slick Rick 1991 son. I'll put that into the chat box, or I'll put that into the comment section. Let's get it popping. All right, so here we are back on a Monday morning after All-Star Weekend. I'm going to talk about All-Star Weekend a little bit, a little deeper. Probably tomorrow. I'm going to have a live about that tomorrow. But today I'm just going to do videos. I want to talk about this, this Draymond Green coming out saying that the Warriors are going to win the championship this year. So yesterday, before I think the All-Star game, if I'm not mistaken, he was on TNT's, or not TNT, he's with, I think, Vince Carter, Jalen Rose, and there was another dude, he don't play ball, he's like right by Draymond. They were all like on the panel together, right? 4 of them, outside of the Chase Center. And Draymond was talking about a numerous amount of topics. He was talking about, the All-Star game format. He's talking about, how the game is for today, as far as, how it's played and stuff like that. A lot of good topics. Draymond's a really good TV analyst. If you guys haven't got a chance to really watch, he's really a good TV analyst as well. So I think he'll have a job right after he's done playing ball to be one of those and be in one of those seats. But that's another point. Draymond came out yesterday, made a bold statement saying the Warriors are going to win a championship this year. They were talking about the acquisitions of, all the free agents this offseason, this trade deadline, Luka, AD, you got Brandon Ingram, and then you got, of course, the Warriors with Jimmy Butler. You got De'Aaron Fox with the Spurs. All those people that were listening on the TV screen, right? So they asked Draymond which was the most exciting one. Of course, he's going to say his teammate, Jimmy Butler. Now, I had made a video about 2 days ago about Jimmy Butler, 2-3 days ago about Jimmy Butler coming to the Warriors, and I asked, was that the missing piece? Here comes Draymond with a video, or Draymond with a statement saying that the Warriors are going to win a championship this year. So this is my thoughts. First off, the Warriors are the 10th seed in the Western Conference, right? They're in the play-in. They started off this season pretty slow. Not much movement, not much, promise. Steph Curry looked like he was the most miserable he's ever been in his life. And, people thought the dynasty was pretty much done. Klay Thompson left this offseason. Draymond and Steph are getting older. Steph is about to be 37 this year before the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And Draymond about to be 34, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of stuff is different from where it was in the glory years, right? So they got 4 championships, multiple Western Conference appearances, all-stars amongst the trio, of course. So, they are a dynasty from 2015 to 2019, especially because they win every single year. But, they won another championship in 2022. So they got 4 championships in less than 10 seasons. That's an accomplishment. 4 championships in 10 seasons, that's an accomplishment. From 2015 to 2025, right now, they've accomplished 4 championships. So that means they've been the most dominant team in the entire league for the entire decade. My thoughts about Draymond saying that the Warriors are going to win a championship, based off of that, is why I'll be like, you know what? He's supposed to say that. You pick up a player like Jimmy Butler, understand it's about fit. How a player fits and the matchups in the playoffs and experience. Those are the 3 things that matter in the playoffs. Well, multiple things, coaching too. Coaching, matchups, fit, how a team fit, and experience and chemistry. Those things all matter. And Draymond is the type of player, man, he is the vocal leader of that team. But you pick up Jimmy Butler, he might be the vocal leader as time goes on. But you picked up another player who's a better version of Draymond on the court. Better scorer, better shooter, just as good as defender. More athletic. He does everything better than Draymond with his voice as well. So that's what you picked up with, the Warriors. Now, how does that fit the Warriors system? Well, Jimmy's not an outside 3-point shooter. I remember asking Steve Kerr this question before. Jimmy ain't an outside 3-point sniper like Klay was. So obviously that's not who he is. But what Jimmy brings is everything else. Everything else he does good. He does nothing elite, nothing great, but he does everything good. He rebounds. He facilitates. He's a good point guard as well. He also plays point guard, you know, a little bit, point forward if I might be mistaken. He's very good on defense. He's a very good scorer. Not a great shooter, but he's decent. He can hit down the, you know, occasional 3-point shot. He knows how to get his buckets. Very efficient. You know, team leader, all that stuff. You know, this is the guy that just got the Miami Heat to 3 conference finals and 2 NBA championship appearances. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, that's what you brought to the Warriors. He's playing with joy and happiness. So Draymond and him obviously been talking. Yeah, based off of that quote he said, I could tell Jimmy Butler didn't, you know, pretty much put a battery in his back to say that, because, you know, that's something that Jimmy Butler would say. All them years in Miami, he was talking about how they win the championship, they guarantee that, they guarantee this. That's something that Jimmy Butler has said. So they're 3-1 right now with Jimmy Butler, only losing to the Dallas Mavericks so far. So they're off to a good start. But this is where I have concerns and questions. You look at the matchups of, you know, the Warriors. Who are they going to be facing? And something else that Draymond said, why he said that statement, was because he don't fear none of these teams in the West. And that just goes to show you what I was telling y'all before. The West is open. It's wide open right now. There's really no what's going on over there? There's really no dominant, you know, force in the Western Conference. So at this point, when you have a player like Jimmy Butler, who comes in, who's an all-star caliber player, and you put him in a West, which is mainly a bunch of younger teams who don't have much playoff experience, who are younger teams who haven't been put in the fire, a la the Houston Rockets, a la the Memphis Grizzlies, a la, you know what I'm saying, even OKC, they had their experience last year, but they still, you know, you talking about going up against teams that's had multiple years, who've seen everything at every level. Golden State has been at every level, right? So that's who Draymond was referring to, saying that none of these teams scare me. OKC's, the Houstons. I think Memphis somewhat has a swagger to beat them, but you guys saw they beat Memphis a couple years back, right? I know Ja got hurt, but I still believe, like I said about the Memphis Grizzlies, they're not going to win a championship, because at the end of the day, you got an undersized 6'2" point guard who is the best player, quote unquote, on your team. You got a limited skilled player in Jaren Jackson, who's your second best player, quote unquote, your second most impactful. Then you got Desmond Bane, who's a good scorer, but he's not elite. He's not going to give you 30 points. I ain't seen it in a playoff series yet. So development is good with the Grizzlies. They're a good story, but there's other teams that are better. But those 3 teams are on the top of the Western Conference, and Draymond don't have no fear, and he shouldn't have no fear of them. They beat Houston already this season. They just beat them last week. I think they have a psychological hold over Houston. I think they have a psychological hold over OKC when the playoffs come with this move with Jimmy Butler. So those 3 teams, but then you got to look at Denver. You got to look at us. Of course, we beat them 3 times. Without Kawhi, right? Without Kawhi, we beat them 3 times. So at the end of the day, that goes to show you we've been pretty dominant. Now, you pick up Jimmy Butler, that helps some, but a Kawhi and Jimmy Butler, Kawhi's a little bit better at everything than Jimmy. So that's a team you got to be concerned about if you're Golden State. You got to be concerned about Dallas. Dallas, to me, is a team everybody should be concerned about, because you pretty much don't have no weaknesses on the court. They got defense in the perimeter and in the inside. They got size, they got experience, they got scorers, they got shooters, they got everything. Which, by the way, I'm gonna do a video probably later today. I don't know if I'm gonna do it while I'm driving. I don't know what to call it, you know, car comes with B Jizzle, or I'm gonna call it you know, something else. But they've been capping for Luka Doncic as well, and I'm actually exposed that. They did it yesterday, Jalen Rose, but the Mavericks made the right decision getting Luka Doncic off the team. They're 4-1 right now. They gotten better as a team. They're sharing the ball. They're winning games without Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and those other players. Other players are starting to come up. So I think they made the right decision. So you got to watch out for Dallas. Phoenix, if they can get, you know, some type of steam, they still got 3 scores, even though I think Golden State will beat them, because they're just going to probably you know, out-punk them. You still got to be able to stop their scoring. You got to look at Minnesota. They're starting to come up more and more. Against Golden State, I think Golden State has a little bit too much scoring for Phoenix, or too much scoring from Minnesota. So I'm naming all these teams to really kind of give y'all an idea of how Golden State matches up to everybody. So that's kind of my thing, man. Like I said, I like what Draymond said. I think it brings excitement to the game. It's another thing too. Then the ratings have been down, right? So this right here is going to bring the ratings back up, because now everybody's going to be locked in to see what happens in the postseason. So I love it. I like how, people keep talking, about guarantees. So when you win 4 championships, when you have as much success as Draymond Green with Defensive Player of the Year, you got the right to say whatever you want to say. Will it happen? It depends on the matchup. Like I just said, it depends who they play will decide if Golden State wins a championship, or will they be put out, early in the playoffs, because they're in the 10th seed right now. So they got some work to do. So I expect them to win games. I expect them to come back. Jonathan Kuminga has been out for, I think, a month. So Jimmy Butler, another thing about him, what he does is he uplifts younger players and role players. So Jonathan Kuminga is an upcoming player, and I think he'll be big for Jonathan. I think his personality, they kind of mesh together. So it's going to come to that. The coaching, I think somewhat the players coach themselves on Golden State. Not to say Steve Kerr is not a good coach, but I think they're at a point now in their careers, in their mid-30s, late 30s, to say, okay, we know what to do. We know how to actually handle adversity. We know how to actually handle, people coming in trying to, we know how to handle all that. So at the end of the day, that's what I have to say about that. But until next time, we respectfully say, pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull it out. Peace. Out of here like swim wild.